So welcome to today's lesson. We're going to introduce forces. So there's three things we're going to learn today. We're going to express a force as a push or pull of one body on another body, identify various types of forces, 7 in total, and understand that friction is a force that opposes motion. So the first thing we've got to ask is what a force is. So a force is essentially just a push or a pull. And a force can do four things. It can speed up an object, it can slow down an object, it can change the direction of an object, and it can change the shape of an object, like a squishy ball, for example. And the units of force are newtons, and we measure force using something called a Newton meter. Okay, and a balance, a weight balance, is an example of a Newton meter, for example. So I'm now just going to highlight 7 different types of forces that you have to know. So the first one is gravitational force, and that's the attractive force between two bodies. Okay, and this force increases if the mass of the bodies increases, and gets smaller if the distance between those bodies increases. Okay, and weight is the example of gravitational force on Earth on an object. Okay, so your bathroom scales actually measure your weight, not your mass, and it is measured in newtons. The second is the normal or contact force, and this is a repulsive force which stops two bodies touching into each other. So here we have an image of a car, so it's the force that's stopping the car touching the road. Okay, and the word normal is just normal because the force is at 90 degrees or at right angles to the surface of the bodies. Okay, so here the force is at 90 degrees to the surface of the road. And it's caused by the electronic repulsive forces between molecules. Then we have friction, and friction is the force that opposes motion, at least when it's between surfaces. And one of the important points is that kinetic energy of a moving object is usually transferred into heat through the action of this force of friction. Then we have air resistance, which is essentially just friction in fluids, which are liquids and gases. So it kind of impedes the motion of objects in fluids and gases. And in order to reduce this, some objects are streamlined, which is a shape which reduces the force of air resistance or drag. Then we have upthrust, and this is the force experienced by objects when they're placed in a liquid or gas. So for example, when you go into the swimming pool, it's the force that's pushing you up. And an object like yourself in a swimming pool will float in your swimming pool if the upthrust force is greater or equal to your weight. Then finally, we have the two last ones, which are magnetic force and electrostatic force. So magnetic force, as it says, is the force between magnets, and electrostatic force is the attractive or repulsive forces due to objects being charged. So for example, two like charges will repel, and two unlike charges will attract. And that is your introduction to forces.